Special thanks, of course, to all the sponsors. Thank you to Onnit Nutrition. Thank you to Knockout Zone. We appreciate having the doc in the house. He's doing some work on people. He just worked on RealWorld Tactical, Tony Sentmanat. And, of course, he's going to be hanging out in the Knockout Zone, hopefully working on Diego, hopefully going to be getting some more work done on me. He's working on feet. He's working on backs. He's working on necks. He's telling everybody they are all fucked up. So, Doc, I know you've done a ton of podcasts. We share some mutual friends. I'm sure you've told your story. Everybody, needs therapy all the time. How important is therapy and how important is it to you?
Well, it depends what we're talking about. I think if you're having relationship problems, therapy is a very, very important thing. It'll make sure that you don't lose half of your revenue and your income. So everybody out there, a significant other, make sure you get therapy. If you're a big-time athlete, it's really important that you're getting assessed. You make sure your biomechanics are good, because if you don't and you're pushing your body, you're going to tear things. You'll tear your pec, you'll tear your bicep. I know some people that know some things about that, yeah?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, I don't like to get into telling everybody's whole story, how they got to this point, how they got through this journey. I think that's been overdone. Just what is your mission and what is your mission statement and what are you trying to educate people most on and what are you trying to drive home? Because obviously you're passionate about this.
Yeah.
You did an assessment on me. You looked at me. You're like this. You visualize it. You see it. How did you get to this point and what is the number one thing you try to correct in folks that come to you for the first time?
Right. So, our big thing is we want people to live the life they want to live. So whether they want to do powerlifting or Muay Thai or boxing or they want to pick up their grandkids, our goal is to help people achieve their goal. So whatever that entails. And what happens is, all our bodies are fragile and everybody experiences pain at some point or another. And what we don't want to happen is end up in a downward cycle to where they can't do the things they want to do, where they end up getting hooked on opioids or end up in a spiral to where they basically just fall apart and lose their life. So whatever we can do to help assist in that, that's what we do. And our big takeaway is trying to empower our patients. So we give you an assessment. We have an objective way to look at you. We see where there's a problem as far as, bones being stuck, muscles being tight. And what we want to do is give you a home kit for you to be able to maintain these things on your own. So we're like the dentist. You go get your teeth cleaned, and then you learn how to brush and floss.
I like that. How often should athletes in general be seeking therapy? How often should, we're here in the Knockout Zone, guys are training all the time. It's hellacious on your body. You're taking a beating. You're being depleted. You're being run down. How often should someone be seeking therapy and how often should somebody be getting checked out?
So for a professional athlete, I tend to look at it like this. Generally speaking, I wouldn't go push for therapy unless you feel like something's wrong, because there is such thing as overtreatment just like there is overtraining. And there's a lot of over-exuberant clinicians that just want to treat people all the time because it helps them promote their business and things like that too. So it's important about a balance. I think for a professional athlete, getting a massage that isn't too deep, once or twice a week is a good call. Depending on how their bodies work, whether it's, I wouldn't do injections unless there's an injury. We're talking about like prolozone and ozone and things like that. And stuff like cupping is very non-invasive. For the non-invasive, you can do a little more. And then you bring up the more invasive interventions when there's a real problem.
Now, there's so many options out there. This is an important question. There's a million options out there. There's chiropractors, there's this, there's that, there's PT guys, there's stretch guys, there's everybody out there. How would you take yourself out of the equation, remove the ego, remove everything, take yourself out of the equation? What would you say are the top 2 or 3 things folks should be looking for? Should it be like cryo and then a massage? Okay. Like, give me the basic. Like, if somebody's just saying, I need to get therapy now, where should they start?
And sort of limited budget, yeah?
Limited budget. All
right, so the way you want to start is your own stretching and your own foam rolling, lacrosse ball, stuff like that. 5-10 minutes a day of each of those should be good. You can add in yoga. The only thing I want to caution people is everybody's individual, and you need to assess your body so you don't fit into a program. So yoga isn't for everybody. For some people, it's great. Chiropractic isn't for everybody. For some people, it's great. I would say start like this. What everybody mostly needs is strengthening, and they need some soft tissue work. Those are the top 2. As we work our way down from there, you might need manipulation, adjustments. Not everybody needs to be adjusted. Some people do, some people don't. But that wouldn't be my go-to either.
Right.
And then from there, cryo, ozone, and they all have their place, right? Acupuncture. But for somebody on a budget, for somebody who needs to balance their musculoskeletal system, the 2 basic places you start is by strengthening the muscles and by loosening the muscles that are too tight.
It's great advice. How you brought up something before, getting hooked on opioids. How important is supplementation and diet in what you guys preach and what you guys talk about? Where does that all fit in? Hydration, food, supplementation. Do you recommend things as part of therapy, or do you just say, drink a lot of water like you hear a lot of guys say,
Yeah, and I think that depends too. I think for a regular person that isn't working out too hard, there's not necessarily a ton of need for supplementation. I think that if you're trying to be proactive, I think getting into anti-inflammatory stuff is a good place to start. Flax, fish oil, CBD oil, stuff like that. Bang for your budget. That's, I think, a very good place to start. And a healthy protein.
Now, you've worked on some awesome people through the years. You brought some names up to me, some mutual friends we share, and Tony.
Yeah.
You've rubbed elbows with some great people. It seems the reaction's been phenomenal in terms of the treatments that you're giving. Who are some of the folks that you've worked on that have become believers that, maybe were regulars to other forms of therapy that have come over to this form of therapy? What's been like the big differentiation that you see in what you do versus what other therapies that they've gotten?
Yeah, well, frankly, I think it's just the assessment and learning when and where to apply which therapy. We have a little bit of everything, but we don't put all our tools in one thing and just look at it through that lens. We try to match the right person with the right therapy. So yeah, some of the folks that end up coming to see us, we've had Cesar Milan, Brian Callen,
yep.
Obviously John Jones, Holly Holm, Diego Sanchez, BJ Penn, Cody No Love. Everybody in the MMA world we've worked with at some point. Stylebender. They have a lot of big bodybuilders. Ed Cohn, Taylor Woolham. So quite a few people. Taylor Hill, the Victoria's Secret model. It's just the big complaint that everybody has is why the hell are you in the middle of the desert?
Would Ed call himself a bodybuilder? Probably not.
Hell no.
Hell no.
Hell no.
Shout out to Ed. But
Ed is the man.
Yeah. But BJ Penn, the jiu-jitsu guys, something I'm familiar with. Those guys are always getting cranked up and twisted and put in tough spots. I imagine those guys, so if you're an MMA guy, you're out there doing some jiu-jitsu or you're doing Muay Thai, I'm sure you're really twisting and cranking your body up. Those are the guys I would think, even at the basic level, should be seeking therapy at least 2-3 times a month. I would imagine, right, Doc?
And I would argue there's some outliers. There's some people that don't need it, but the vast majority of people that are getting their neck pulled on and they're getting put into a mounted position and they're getting all these things that are going on, particularly lower back and neck. They're going to need some soft tissue work, guaranteed.
Absolutely.
And then if you look at the lifestyles that most people have for their regular jobs, as we're moving along in society, learn to code, right? So everybody's sitting here doing this, and so we end up with the same sort of patterns. Then what happens is we have people, they sit there for an 8-hour day, and they're sitting there at a computer in 6-inch heels. They go straight to the gym, and they go into CrossFit, they jump into chucks, and what do you know, their Achilles hurts, their back hurts, and so they're just not doing the work on the other end that'll make sure that they can function the way they're supposed to.
It's great advice. That's I can't put it any better. I can't stress all this week we've been talking with people about therapy. I feel like it's been therapy week. We've been highlighting a lot of different things. We'll be having the guys on who do the IV treatments and hormones. How do you feel about as guys tend to, obviously hormone therapy is a big thing right now.
Right.
And without getting too deep into the sauce, everybody likes to do TRT. Everybody's doing something now to give themselves an extra boost. Do you feel that that's stiffening guys up? That's contributing to more of a rigid bone structure? I don't know the terms. You're the doctor, but do you feel like that's contributing negatively to any of the muscle structure?
Right.
Or?
So in my opinion, there is no such thing as good or bad when we're looking at things objectively. There just is. And so as you get a benefit, there will be a negative as well. So, what are the positives of TRT? Okay, better sex drive, better energy, stronger, better recovery times, but androgens have an effect on your body. They have an effect on calcium deposition, so you're more likely to get bone spurs. Your blood pressure may go up.
Right.
So there are some other things that go along with that, and in particular, depending on which sort of androgen or whatever type of anabolic you're working on, it's pretty well known in the bodybuilding community. Stuff that doesn't have the same type of anabolic and androgenic activity, so take out the androgen, there are some anabolics that really will lead to tendon ruptures and things like that.
How do you feel about anabolics?
I feel that, again, just like any medicine, it belongs in the right person and the right thing. So, and you've probably heard this before, if you're an asshole when you drink, you're probably going to be an asshole when you take steroids. So if you're a pretty calm person, normally, then you're probably pretty calm there. So these ideas of, roid rage or these ideas of, reefer madness and things like that, those are outliers. But you have to know yourself pretty well and you have to be honest with yourself. And that's the key thing we stress with everybody. Like, talk to the people around you, get some objective advice and say, am I really being straight up with myself right now? Is this going to be a positive for my life or could it be detrimental? Because everything could be positive and it could be negative.
No, that's a great way to put it. It comes up a lot. It's in the gyms. It's there. Mm-hmm. It's so available. Now being in Miami, it's every street corner has some form of gene therapy or whatever. TRT, and guys are getting into it. So, we covered a few things. You did some work on me. Mm-hmm. I have to say, I feel incredibly lighter. I feel more flexible. I feel looser. Flexibility's always been a struggle for me and always been a huge issue for me.
Sure. From
day one. I was, a heavy guy all the way through high school, playing sports, playing, football, all those things as a kid, getting into the MMA stuff. I never did a great job stretching, and you brought up stretching a lot, and a lot of therapists and guys in recovery do that.
Right.
What is, a few simple stretches of what should people be doing. Is it 10 minutes a day? Is it 5 minutes a day? Is it 5 minutes a week?
Yeah.
What would you suggest out there to all the viewers, stretching-wise, and keep your body loose and limber? What would be your ultimate suggestion?
My suggestion would be don't go more than 20 minutes a day. So there is too much. You wouldn't brush your teeth for 30 minutes. You'd wear out your gums. So you can't overstretch. You can't over-roll, too. So if you just wanted to start with some basics, like some really great ones for people to do your PE stretches. Your standing quad, standing calf. Do that before you go to bed. So stretching works the best. Static stretching when you're going to be in one position for a long time. Before you got on an airplane, before you drive. Dynamic workup works best before you're going to work out. So get on the roller a little bit, do some active movements. That's what you want to do for that portion. So stretch before you go to bed, do your regular little linear PE stretches, and then try to get about a 5-minute rollout both before and after your workouts.
Now, you did some work on Tony. How fucked up is he?
He's not that bad, actually.
He's not that bad.
He's pretty good, man.
You heard it here, everybody. To everybody who watches Tony Sentmanat's videos, RealWorld Tactical, he's not that fucked up.
No, man, he's for his muscle size and tone, that's probably one of the healthiest people I've worked on as far as range of motion. Through all the professional athletes that I've worked on.
Right.
So I was a little surprised, actually.
That's a good question now. Who are some of the most banged up guys? The powerlifters?
Powerlifters are beat up,
usually the powerlifters?
Because there's a personality type that goes along with that, too. It's I'm going to do everything by myself. Fuck you, I don't need therapy.
I'm fine. I'm putting more weight on. I'm fine.
Right.
I'm fine. My hips are fine.
And the nature of the sport, when you think about it, it's pushing everything to the extreme. So, like, what we think and what we know is as we age, weightlifting is great for you. It's great for your bone density, muscle tone, even your brain. But the problem with powerlifting as you age is you're always testing that threshold. And once you have enough little micro tears and macro tears, you can get joint degeneration. So, there are outliers. We were talking about this before. Guys like Stan Efferding, they're just, they are a genetic specimen. We'll see how the guys like Larry Wheels turn out in 20 years. But there are a lot of guys out there that have had hip replacements at 45.
Yeah, that's a great point, Doc. There's so many people that, like, we're just in such an exciting time for powerlifting and weightlifting and mixed martial arts because we're going into an era where guys are doing things. I mean, even like you look at Tom Brady, they're doing things into their 40s and even into their 50s now. And dare I say it, 50s with Tom, that playing at a high level that you never would have expected. And I feel like that's not discussed enough, not only in your community, but in ours as athletes. You see guys at 45 doing things that 35-year-olds couldn't do 10 years ago.
Right.
What do you attribute mostly to that?
I think a lot of it is the scientific gain that we've come across as far as both nutrition and training regimens to where people know how to train appropriately and they're not tearing themselves up as badly as before. I think a more conservative approach in the therapeutic world has helped a ton too. Surgeons that aren't so cut happy now, they're willing to give you a trial run of PT or chiro or whatever else. And then when we don't create that scar tissue and adding in new joints and things like that, that gives you elongation over the life of your career. When it was before, it was like something hurts, go ahead and replace it. But we're not robots. We're not cars. You don't just change the muffler and just think everything's going to be great. That should always be a last resort.
I think there's huge hope now for the community of people that, maybe used to say, oh, I'm 32, 33, and I have a couple kids, and I can't do it at a high level now. Even at their 40s, they're still being able to perform at that next level. I mean, do you think in our lifetime we'll see a 50-year-old professional athlete consistently at a level that like Tom's at?
I mean, we're seeing some freaks already. If you look at like Herschel Walker, I think he was fighting at 50, and the guy's still just a genetic freak.
Yeah, but how long before it's the norm?
I don't know. Dan Hendo was fighting for a world title at 46. I mean, I don't think it'll ever be the norm, but that outlier will grow. Instead of being 1%, it'll be 10 or 15 or something like that.
It's a great point. I mean, it really is an exciting time as an athlete to be able to be seeing these things. I remember being younger, and I'm sure we're in the same age bracket, where you saw someone, who was doing it into their late 30s, early 40s. You were like,
32
holy
was like,
shit.
oh,
You were like, whoa,
Yeah.
It was like changing the game. You saw a lot of guys around 35 was the wall.
That's it. Yeah,
that was the wall.
Unless you're a kicker or something.
So now, to everybody out there that'll watch this that's, in their 30s, and I get tons of them that are saying like, oh, I just can't get to the gym, or I just don't have time, you get all the excuses, everything else. There's plenty of time. We always say sleep faster, or you can wake up earlier, or you can get the time in. But now, with the therapy, you can still perform at an excitingly high level and still do it. And I'm amazed to see it myself. Even in Tony, I think Tony's going to be 40. Myself creeping up there. Mark is our age. I think he's a little bit older.
He's 42, I think.
Yeah, he's 42. We saw it with
shredded to the bone.
Yeah, we saw it with Branch competing into an older age. If I heard me say that, it probably hurt me. But I think it's an exciting time to be an athlete and to have all these things available to us. IV therapy, stretching, PT, just everything so readily available. You here in the gym, in the knockout zone, you know, being able to deliver therapy on the spot and be able to spend time with the team and educate them a little bit on what's going on and what's out there.
Yeah.
You just can't ask for a better time, I think, in athletics that I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, I can remember back in the day, even baseball players were told, don't lift weights, you know, this, that. And we've seen that kind of obviously go by the boards.
Right.
But, you know, now I think with the rise of MMA, the rise of UFC, the rise of therapies, everything, powerlifting. It's
the internet,
such,
you know, the internet has
such,
transferred these ideas.
It's such an exciting time. I think the sky's the limit. I think really it can go anywhere. Where can people find you? I know we're getting close to 20 minutes. We'll wrap. Where can people find you? Where can people look you up? What's the best place to...
Yeah, I mean, our website's eliteosm.com. If you're trying to fly in from Albuquerque, we get people from all over the world, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, you know, but social media, Instagram, Dr. Beau Hightower, YouTube, Dr. Beau Hightower. You can subscribe, watch all the ads. I'll be forever grateful for you. I think the beautiful thing we're seeing right now is the internet allows transfer ideas at a very high rate. So it's easier to stand on the shoulders of giants quickly and come up with new ideas. So the big takeaway I want everybody to say is, hey, try everything, dip your toe in everything a little bit, but then listen to the outcomes. If you don't feel like you're responding well to something, go ahead and stop it and pull back, because not everything is for everyone. You know, veganism, not for everyone.
Right.
Carnivore diet, not for everyone. For the people that it works for, you should lock in and do that thing that works the best for you. So be objective, listen to your body, and don't be somebody who's a religious zealot with any kind of philosophy. Be willing to give up your beliefs as you're exposed to new information and how your body changes.
So, a couple of things. You can find your email on the website. Do you prefer that? The best way
email.
to get you? Email.
I do not check DMs.
Do not check DMs. He doesn't check DMs. Don't
slide.
Don't slide in.
Don't slide. My fiance will kill you.
So, and you're open to answering any questions if folks are willing to come out and get some work with you? Generally.
Yeah, and we'll try to do lives and QAs.
We'll try to do lives and Q&As. So make sure you check out Dr. Beau Hightower. It's at Dr. Beau.
Yes, sir.
All right, Dr. Beau Hightower. So make sure you check out the IG, guys, if you haven't. Make sure you like and subscribe. You got YouTube, obviously, everything else.
Yep.
Everything. Make sure you slide into his email, not his DM, and send him a quick message. But, you know, leave you with the last thought, Doc. I want to ask this. I ask this of every guest. What is the number one thing you want to leave all the listeners with if they've never had therapy, is the topic, and you want them to take away from you as the next steps if they want to get work? And maybe it's just in their area, and then they have to seek somebody out. What question should they ask? What should be the number one? I ask this all the time. Like, if you're going into a jiu-jitsu gym, what should you ask the instructor? What's the number one question you should ask? Because not everyone can fly in and see you.
So again, think reasonably. If somebody makes a healthcare claim that seems irrational, I would probably head for the door. There should be some level that makes sense to you. Don't buy into something just because somebody's selling you. If they're giving you slides or anything like that, that's another red flag. Don't do that kind of stuff. So sit down. You want somebody that's going to spend 20 minutes and have a timely discussion with you and actually listens to you, because doctors don't listen. And then if it makes sense and it kind of fits with what your understanding of biology and physiology is, then go ahead and try it. If your spider sense is going off, if it feels like somebody's overselling on something, there's a good chance that they are, and you should get out of there.
Yeah, because in a lot of towns, Doc, there's obviously the the witch doctor. Dare I say that you walk in, they have herbs, they have this, they have that, and they just want to ask if you have insurance and crank you into something. We've all seen it. We've all lived through it. We've all gone through it. I think you're absolutely right. I think you should ask the right questions. I'm a huge believer in that. Whether it's you're seeking instruction on a range, whether you're seeking instruction in a gym, always ask the right questions, make the assessment, and always bounce it off somebody.
Yep. And don't be afraid to hurt the provider, the clinician's feelings. Because at the end of the day, if you feel pressured into doing something that you don't want to do, you're the one that has to live with the consequences. It's your body. That person doesn't have to live with the injury that you get from that, or even the loss of finances. So don't be afraid to say, listen, this isn't a good fit for me. I don't think this is going to vibe, and leave.
How do you feel about massage therapy?
I love massage therapy.
All right, perfect. Good, because I'm sticking with it. So
awesome.
We had a great time talking with Dr. Beau, so I appreciate you. I appreciate you having you on for 20 minutes and giving the guys some assessment. So make sure, guys, you check out his pages, check out his website, check out his Instagram, YouTube, everything. Don't hesitate to ask questions. Shoot me a DM or shoot me a message if you have any questions. Again, everything's available. Like, subscribe everywhere. Check out the doc. I appreciate having you. It's been a lot of fun.
Good man.
He's busted me up. He's worked on me. Stay tuned. Definitely pay attention for the stories, and you can see Tony Sentmanat getting worked on in his stories. They'll be in the stories, right?
Stories.
They'll be in the stories. We're coming at you live from the Knockout Zone. We appreciate it. Thank you to Onnit Nutrition, and thank you to all the sponsors. Appreciate your time. See you guys.
See you guys.